This is the kind of away game that decides title races. Nottingham Forest at home, under the bright lights, against an Arsenal away side that has to be patient. This is your Nottingham versus Arsenal preview. Welcome back to the Bar Arsenal. Apologies for not having the Chelsea match reaction on Wednesday night. It was quite a difficult night for us. As you can see, I'm a Nigerian. Arsenal was playing Chelsea 9 p.m. Nigeria was playing Morocco 9 p.m. I had to basically watch both games at the same time. Divide my emotions in both games because they're quite important. Arsenal was in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. Nigeria is in the semi-final of the Nations Cup. But obviously, Arsenal won the game 3-2, and Nigeria was still in extra time. So I was able to now move away from the Arsenal game to fully concentrate on the Nigeria game. We went all the way to penalties. And it ended up in disappointment. And trust me, I don't have strength to relive all that anymore. The crazy thing was that the Nigeria game finished around 12 midnight. So when you think about the disappointment that came with losing penalties to Morocco and the energy that been sapped off me, in all honesty, I just didn't have the strength to sit my ass down to look at my camera and, handle a match reaction for the Arsenal versus Chelsea game. Obviously, just a quick word on it. I guess it should have been more. There's this feeling. Yes, it's good to have won in Stamford Bridge, but at the same time, it just what's the word to use? This underlying feeling that we probably should have done better. Especially that moment when Marino had that chance and made it 4-1. But hey ho, the last game is off. The second leg is in February, early February, and there'll be time to handle a preview for that and a reaction when it happens. So let's get to today's video, which is against Nottingham Forest this evening. The City Ground is never a straightforward place to play. They've had a couple of good results against big teams in the past. I know Man City has lost there. Even Arsenal, we lost there in the FA Cup. But in recent times in the Premier League, I think we've dropped points once in a while. Last season it was a 0-0 draw where Calafiori hit clipped the post, if I remember. That's the thumbnail of today's video. So Nottingham Forest has kind of transitioned. They first had Nuno Espirito Santo in their ranks. They were not doing badly. He took them to Europe last season. And of course, after the clash with Edu, he lost his job following a 3-0 loss to West Ham. And they signed Ange Postecoglou. That was just a disaster for them. I think in 8 games, he lost 7 or some crazy record like that. And George Marinakis, despite being a Greek man like Postecoglou, had to, save his club by sacking the Australian manager. Then he now brought on Satan Ball with Sean Dyche taking over the range. Dyche has tried to, balance the team. Some good results here, some good results there. But one thing we know for sure, Sean Dyche football remains the same. Satan Ball all the way. So today we're going to look at Nottingham Forest form, look at their team news, look at their injury news, do the same for Arsenal, look at the tactical battles, and of course, give our match predictions. While taking a close look at the predicted lineups. So basically, Nottingham Forest has built their 25-26 season around home intensity and structure. Under Nuno Espirito Santo, they are very compact, they are very aggressive, and they are unapologetically direct. They have the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi on this flank, or Mario Hutchinson on this other flank. It used to be Dan Ndoye. I think when he suffered an injury and he didn't get back to that form of when he really signed for the team. And Hutchinson has really been doing very well in all honesty. Nottingham Forest don't want the ball. All they want is mistakes. They kind of thrive on chaos a lot. One thing to expect when you want to be at their best is when they're sitting in that deep defensive block, winning those second balls and breaking quickly into wide areas with the pace like Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ndoye and Bakwa and what Mario Hutchinson have. They tend to, transition very quickly. Last season, they had a monumental striker in the form of Chris Wood, who scored 20 Premier League goals. It was a personal best for him. But this year, he has struggled with injuries. He's currently out actually with a knee injury right now. And the son, Igor Jesus from Botafogo, although the young forward is still, he's still adapting. He has had his good moments here and there, but obviously he's no Chris Wood. But one key player that they have that glues everything together is their captain, Morgan Gibbs-White. He was so close to joining Tottenham at the start of this season before signing a new contract. And he's the one that's always at the end of all set pieces. So Nottingham Forest is a team that tries a lot on set pieces. In the likes of Milenkovic and Murillo, they have aggressive defenders that can challenge the ball aerially, and that's not have to be mindful of that threat. To injuries, their goalkeeper, John Victor, is out with a knee injury. He temporarily replaced Marcels for a couple of games and did okay, but his last game against Aston Villa was a disaster. Especially that third goal that McGinn scored where he came out all the way. I don't know why he was in that position where he had his defenders to protect him. But that was the last time we've seen him. Apparently, he's out with a knee injury. And of course, we also have Chris Wood, their talisman, who's also out with a knee injury. Then one other player that's not going to play in the game is Alexander Zinchenko. Arsenal loaned him to Nottingham Forest this season, and based on the Premier League rules, you can't play against your parent club. I was reading somewhere that Nottingham Forest is going to return him back to Arsenal. I don't know how true that article is. Although then again, if you look at it, he hasn't really played consistently for them. And obviously, his contract will expire at the end of the season. So he's certainly one player that's going to leave on a free transfer at the end of the campaign. To their last 5 games, they lost 2-1 to Man City, lost 2-0 to Everton, lost 3-1 to Aston Villa, managed to get back to winning ways when they beat West Ham, their former boss, Espirito Santo. It was a late penalty for Morgan Gibbs-White. Then over the weekend, they played in the FA Cup against Wrexham. It was a 3-3 draw that went all the way to penalty shootouts, but unfortunately, Nottingham lost. So we expect them to, challenge for set pieces, transitions, remain their biggest weapons. And Arsenal also have to be mindful of the crowd. The 12th man want to do the best they can to spur on Nottingham Forest. And it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. To Arsenal, the last game they played was midweek against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. That was a very interesting encounter. We're thinking of how Arteta was going to set up for that game, but you could see that besides Kepa Arrizabalaga, Arsenal actually played the strongest X-side they could. I was hoping that Miles Kelly was not going to play, bearing in mind that he had not been in very good form. And it was good to see that Arsenal so heeded to that because Timber was on the left and Ben White was on the right. And of course, Ben White's inclusion into the team was very beneficial because he was monumental in the first goal that was scored. A simple header from the Declan Rice corner kick. It's a piece of ole. We keep cooking with that. But obviously, Arsenal this season, especially in away games, have been very controlled. We don't rush teams anymore like before. Like remember 2023, we used to be very aggressive going into games. But now it's more about patient build-up, having that control, just having the confidence in the ability of the team that we are certainly going to get the result we wanted. When Arsenal played Portsmouth, they scored a very early goal, but you see how calm and confident the lads were. Martinelli obviously scored a good hat-trick to make it 4-1. And even against Chelsea, despite seeing the home team peg them twice, Arsenal scored first with Ben White, Gyökeres scored the second goal, and of course Garnacho's made it 2-1. Just we're hoping for a chance to make it 2-2, and of course Mendy, that beautiful goal, made it 3-1. Then of course Garnacho made it 3-2 again. But what I'm saying here is that Arsenal continue to play well in each game, tweak the formation to what they want to do, and of course they are very, very tactically flexible. The best part about Arsenal is the fact that they have very, very good amount of depth. You see the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, players that came on from the bench. You even have less of a bridge easy if you want to use him. Of course, Noni Madueke on the flanks as well as Martinelli. So Arteta is going to, utilize that full squad that he has. Thankfully, the injuries are kind of reducing, but the only challenge we have right now is how light we are at the back. Calafiori is still out with the muscular issue. He has been out since the Wolves game when he was suspended, and it's quite interesting to see why this thing is taking him out for a while. But we know Calafiori is someone that's struggled with injuries in the past, so we're not too surprised. We also have Christian Mosquera, who is struggling with injury as well. We know that he suffered an ankle injury against Bayern Munich, and he hasn't played since then. Piero Nkapie played very well against Liverpool up until when he had a hamstring strain. So we're kind of very light at the back. But thankfully, Trossard and Saliba were doubts for the Chelsea game, but I don't know if Arteta probably lied or maybe he didn't want to give anything away. But it's good to see them return back to the fray. So we need them to, continue to dominate territory, to continue to recycle possession, to wait for those openings. And of course, we know that this is going to be a game against a team that plays a low block. So Arsenal will need to be mindful to see how they can break it down. We have the quality to do so, and I won't expect any different from them. In terms of Arsenal from the last 5 games, the 4-1 win against Aston Villa Of course, that's a very lovely game, seeing how we trashed Naimeri. And of course, when we visited Bournemouth, we won 3-2. And there was a 0-0 draw with Liverpool, the 4-1 win against Portsmouth, and most recently, the 2-3 win against Chelsea. Moving over to predicted lineup, starting with the home side, Marcel should continue in goal, being the man that John Victor is injured. Ola Aina continued to build his match fitness. He missed the Nations Cup for Nigeria because of that hamstring injury he had since in October or November or thereabouts. But he had been playing a couple of games to get back into speed. Nico Williams, the versatile defender, will be on the left-hand side. With respect to the pairing of Milenkovic and, of course, Murillo, the two battle-tested defenders that they have in the black eye. Then, of course, the DEFCON monster, Elliot Anderson, will play alongside Nicola Dominguez. Further up the pitch, you have Morgan Gibbs-White, the captain in the number 10 position, while Callum Hudson-Odoi and Mari Hutchinson, the former Arsenal player, will be on the flanks. Igor Jesus should lead the line. For Arsenal, David Raya will return back in goal. Kepa Arrizabalaga did okay in the game against Chelsea. He had a couple of saves, but I think he should have done better for both goals. The first one beat him on his near post. He didn't close Garnacho down early enough. And for the second goal, when the corner kick came, he was kind of in no man's land, and we all know how that panned out. In defense, I was glad to see Jurien Timber on the left-hand side, Ben White on the right-hand side, with Gabriel and Saliba, the best defensive pairing in the world, and I'd say playing together in the middle. In midfield, Matis Mendy be spot on for such an amazing game he had. He was a man of the match alongside Gyökeres. Gyökeres had the main plaque itself, but Mendy had an amazing game that day. You want to build on that. Of course, Declan Rice and Odegaard will be the ones supporting him in midfield. I'd have liked to see Beatrice in this kind of game, but Nottingham is quite physical, so maybe he can come in the second half and show his talent. Further up the pitch, Victor Gyökeres finally got an open play goal since the Burnley game, which was quite a long time ago. But he should build his confidence for this game. And you have the likes of Bukayo Saka and Leandro Trossard providing support from the flanks. The tactical battles is going to be certainly the low block the Nottingham Forest is going to play. Elliot Anderson, Dominguez, Murillo, Milenkovic will defend very deep. And Arsenal will need to control the game, move the ball quickly till Forest eventually cracks. If you slow the game down, Forest you can kind of gain some confidence, and you don't want us to do that. Over the flanks, wide isolation will be very important because the fullbacks, Aino and Williams, will be locking horns against Trossard and Saka. I'm sure those guys will do well to try and cook them. Transition is going to be very important. That's why I need to be very careful. But Nottingham Forest's best moments usually come after turnovers. They get the ball quick, spread it out to the wings to allow Hudson-Odoi and Mari Hutchinson to bump with speed. So Arsenal has to be very careful of that. Our counter press will be very sharp and very ruthless. So to my match prediction, this is not going to be pretty. I don't expect it to be. Forest will frustrate Arsenal. They will press emotionally. The fans will be there to want them to feed up that chaos. But Arsenal's quality, Arsenal's depth, Arsenal's composure should see the game on. I think this is going to be a 2-0 win for Arsenal. A goal from Gyökeres and maybe Saka, and that'll be enough, So that's pretty much the match preview for the Arsenal vs Nottingham Forest game. This game is going to happen by 6:30 p.m. I'm not going to do a watch along, but I'm going to do a match reaction late at night, just for us to recap all that has gone on. Until then, I'd like you guys to put your thoughts on the comments. Who do you think is going to win the game? What's your predicted XI? And I'll see you guys after this. Till then, come on, you Gunners.